They told us it died in the 90s, that it was inefficient, that it couldn't be revived. But what if the rotary engine didn't fail? What if it was silenced in a sealed chamber outside Hiroshima? A small team of engineers worked under a project labeled Re-erect, buried under a stack of shell companies and paper-thin tech grants. At its center, a strange, smooth housing unit spinning without pistons, without valves, without noise. Not just reborn, rebuilt for war. In January, Mazda's CEO made a cryptic announcement. The future will not be plugged in. The audience laughed. But what they didn't see was that testing had already begun on a rotary electric hybrid capable of driving 1,100 kilometers without touching the grid. It wasn't fiction. It wasn't a prototype. It was already in motion. Inside the prototype was a compact rotary generator, no bigger than a coffee machine, spinning at 12,000 RPM, yet capable of powering an EV drivetrain continuously using nothing but biosynthesized ethanol. The thermal efficiency, a jaw-dropping 48.2%, and the emissions near zero. This wasn't a return to combustion, it was a hard reset. Before we go deeper, hit like and subscribe so you never miss the truths they're trying to bury. Mazda had cracked the one thing EV makers feared most: grid independence. No superchargers, no lithium supply chains, no cobalt mines in the Congo. Just fuel you can grow, spin, and recycle on demand. Buried in Japanese patent filings from 2022, Mazda had registered a new architecture, MPHV1, a modular platform designed to accept rotary generators as range extenders, but with support for rapid swap pods. That means motorcycles, boats, and even aircraft can share the same core engine, swapping out fuel pods like batteries. And here's where it gets geopolitical. An internal memo leaked from Japan's Ministry of Trade confirmed the government had funneled over 180 billion yen into Re-erect via front-facing energy startup. Why? Because in Japan's own words, electric vehicles are not the endgame. Energy sovereignty is. When Western automakers lobbied for stricter EV regulations, Japan didn't push back. They simply pivoted. By 2027, the plan is to deploy rotary-based hybrids across Southeast Asia, bypassing the need for grid infrastructure entirely. Because while Tesla builds charging stations, Mazda builds engines that don't need them. At the Geneva Motor Show, two European CEOs privately viewed Mazda's working prototype. Within weeks, one of them, an EV battery firm CEO, resigned without statement. Weeks later, their stock was delisted. Behind the scenes, analysts whispered one phrase: rotary detonation. Meanwhile, Toyota quietly licensed 4 key patents from Mazda: rotor cooling systems, hydrogen, pre-impression chambers, and thermal balancing algorithms, indicating that Mazda's tech had cross-platform potential. And here's where the engine stops being just an engine. A new Japanese defense document lists micro rotary range extenders under a category for unmanned aerial vehicles. Translation: these engines aren't just for cars. They're being built for drones, for modular transport, for off-grid military logistics. Because when the grid fails, only fuel survives. Master's gamble isn't just technological, it's existential. Nay, world-obsessed with lithium, they've gone back to chemistry. And what they've built may not just disrupt EVs, it may replace them entirely. The rotary wasn't supposed to fly. Not at 30,000 feet, not at sub-zero atmospheric pressure, and definitely not inside an aircraft with No traditional turbine or combustion. Backup. But in March,